Hello, everyone. Let's see if so we'll give this a couple more, another minute or two to let people come in to, if they're coming from other sessions. And just want to say welcome. I see someone else has joined, a couple other people. So I want to give it another couple of minutes here because I know we're right back to back on a lot of these sessions. So give just a little bit more time. And if you have any questions, there's a chat window over on the side. Feel free to ask anything you want in there. I'll do my best to answer. I should have rehearsed a whole bunch of jokes before starting this to fill this first couple minutes, but we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank you for joining me here. I'm here in Knoxville, Tennessee, near the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, about 3 hours east of Nashville, another great town. But thank you for joining me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a demo of our SmartRIA platform. And and if there are questions, feel free to ask. So let's go ahead and I'm going to see if I can figure out how to share my screen here, and we'll jump on in. Okay. And also you should note that on the screen, if you hover over the demo screen, you can maximize it and make it much larger. I haven't figured out a way to make it really large. It'd be kind of easier if we could. I'm going to bump up the font size a little bit here. Maybe that will help on this one. All right, maybe that'll help a little bit. All right, so we'll go ahead and dive in. So our SmartRIA platform, it comes with a compliance calendar by default. And so what we're looking at here is the dashboard, and I'm logged in as a CCO. Here you have other roles as well. We have compliance roles that can help the compliance team, compliance consultant roles. If you have a consultant that's helping you, we have advisors, of course, and we also have support and access roles. And what we're looking at now is a CCO role, which is really all about, one, keeping your firm compliant, keeping your employees compliant, and then at a client level and an account level. And in this demo, this is going to be a high level overview because we have, hundreds and hundreds of firms that use our software, and very often they have different problems they're trying to solve, have been through different audits that may have different, have had different, different auditors will sometimes look at, different things or scrutinize different things, or some firms will have deficiencies they need to take care of. So we often have people coming to us and it's with different things, and it's not a one size fits all. So we've tried to make a very, very flexible, customizable platform. But by default, it comes with a compliance calendar that's built in. And this compliance calendar was built over the course of several years, along with made help, and we've created it with a lot of help from our network of compliance consultants and attorneys that we work with. And we've tried to space things out so that they're not all due in December, for example. But some things, if you have a year, one thing that needs to be done yearly, we will try to put some of those and spaced out through the year. And also, I noticed my coworker Amy Easterly has joined. So if anyone has questions, she'll be glad to help as well. I would like to say that she's kind of the brains of the operation and the glue that holds us together. So glad to have her joining. So we'll talk this compliance calendar. We'll look into that a little bit more. So some other things we have some alerts here, and we can have notifications. We now have a trade monitoring module and some quick access forms that are often really helpful. These are the things that you don't schedule, and this is completely customizable, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. So in the compliance calendar, we have different tasks. Some of these are tasks that can be, you can just put a comment, and check it off and say, yep, I did it. It's kind of just a reminder. Other things, for example, it might be, something that you have to complete a form to way to finish that task is to complete a form. So here's an example of one. So if we look at this, I think my bandwidth is running slow with this screen share and all, but here's an example. So this trading practices is telling you, here's some things that you need to do, for this month, and it tells you why you need to do it. Then you have a checklist. We try to walk you through it, like that says that, and these are often things that auditors will look for, and you look through them, and you can choose yes or no. You can add notes, and this one's a kind of a lengthy form. We won't go through all these, obviously, but in the bottom, you can add additional comments, and you can also upload files. And then you can submit it, and then that goes into, and it becomes super, and that checks off that task for that month. So we talk about all these things on the compliance calendar. As I mentioned, all of these can be customized. So if I go here to this master calendar, and this can be customized by a consultant or by the CCO in the firm. So everything here can be changed. And you'll notice you have the recurrence that they're due different times. If you come along and say, I really don't want to do my annual compliance program review on New Year's Eve, you say, I want to do that at another time, then they can do that. You can completely change that. It's super easy to do. Another thing that comes by default in SmartRIA is a master forms library. So we have a lot of things, and all of these, for example, like if you look at this advertising, submit for review, this one's in draft. I can go over and edit it. And if I want to then add a new field, it's very easy to do. I can then just simply click to add a new field. I can say, oh, let's go and make this a date, and then we'll add it. And I can say, here it is. The date is, and let's make that bold. You can have extra text of telling them why they're doing that. So we're not going to do this one. We're just going to cancel. But so everything in the platform is customizable as far as what the tasks are called, the descriptions, the dates, who they're going to, the forms, and everything about it. One of the great things is you can have these. So these forms are at the firm level, and the other things are at your employee level, including employee onboarding. So we have some that you can have some tasks that are basically show up for an employee on their first day. They might just start, and that's the only task they have. Or then they have another task that's due within 7 days or 10 days, and it can be part of your onboarding program. And then the great thing about that as well is you can then come to reports. And any form that you've ever had filled out in the system that by any employee, you can come along and you can then easily download them in the event of an audit. So if like for example, if I want to look at this access person review, or let's go to the client annual review form. We can run a report, and then you can imagine you could have a whole bunch of these, and then you can download them as a zip file and give those to an auditor if you'd like. We've had quite a few firms go through tough SEC audits, and this has been a lifesaver for them, having to provide that documentation. You can also provide a list. You can say, I want to give a list of the forms that are in here. And earlier I mentioned you can have an attachment in a form. If there is an attachment in a form, that will also be included in the zip file. So we'll go back to the dashboard. Another thing we talked about is alerts. So for example, you can see a couple of them here. So here's one that a lot of people have done. It says there's an annual review one, for example. If we go look at these alerts, so what happens is it goes to advisors. So if you don't have an annual review on file, it'll tell you. And basically you can say, okay, for Bartholomew Matthews, it's telling these advisors that they haven't had an annual review. And if I haven't done that, then as an advisor, what I would have to do is come in here and I'd have to say, okay, why have I not done this? And you can see here, this one, of course, on a demo account has been generated every month. You're kind of nagging the person, letting them know that, hey, you really need to get this done. But let's say you're on the compliance team. You can then come over to reports. And you can come down to this alerts report, and then you can go see, and you go look at your annual reviews, and you can say, okay, show me the ones that have not been taken care of yet, or show me the ones that have been rejected. I can go look for an employee, and I can then see, what's the history on it. And so here, I can say, oh, Felicity Fortune said an annual review would be completed in 30 days, but then they never did. So it provides oversight. And if you wanted to, you can then go here and you can send a reminder email to them. They're coming from get a nastygram from the compliance team. Real popular feature. This is, of course, exportable. In the event of an audit, you can show that your compliance team has been doing oversight and and keeping on top of things. So I want to stop and pause there for a minute. So we've talked about our compliance calendar, our customizable tasks, customizable forms, and we've talked a little bit about alerts and oversight. I want to stop and see if there are any questions from anyone. All right, not seeing any. So I'm going to assume that means I'm doing a stupendous job of explaining what's going on, or I've confused everyone so much they don't even need to, they can't even think of a good question. I'm hoping it's not the latter. So Amy asked a question, can you sync with your calendar? Let's go see. That's a good question. What if I go to compliance and I go look at my compliance calendar, and I go here, and looky here, there's an export calendar button or a link. So I can export it to I can export it to a Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, Outlook. Real super easy to do. And then these things would show up on your calendar, let you know that you need to do them. So it's a good question. So another thing we have this, another view of your own calendar, and then you have a view of the master calendar where you can see what's assigned to everyone else. So for example, if I want to come down here and say, okay, for this client files review, who is it assigned to? Who's done it? Who hasn't done it? Well, of course, on this one, it's all, not a whole lot going on. But of course, in your company, you'd be able to see your employees diligently getting these things done. So another thing we'll talk about is document storage. So in SmartRIA, we have the ability we have 3 places where you can store documents. One is your company files, and this is the kind of things you might have for approved advertising, your policies, maybe training manuals, things like that. And so anyone in the company can get to this. Another is under your management and CCO. You have your management files. These are going to be the things like your financials and HR, things that only the compliance team should have access to. And one great thing about it is this little feature right here. You can download this folder and all subfolders as a zip file. That was one, we had some large firms going through SEC audits, and they said, we're having to just provide an unbelievable amount of documentation to the auditors. So we added that in, and that's been a really, really good feature. So makes things a lot easier. Another thing I mentioned, there are 3 places where we have document storage. The other is in clients. And we'll talk about clients a little bit more here once we get in here. All right, because I'm the CCO, it doesn't list all my clients, and I can, filter by different things. I can look, by advisor things, but I'm going to go ahead and look. I'm pretty sure we have one in here called Sam Adams. Hopefully we don't make everyone real thirsty all of a sudden. Yep, there it is, Sam Adams. This is a shared client, I should mention. So we do have the ability if you have a junior and a senior advisor that share clients, or just in really any fashion, they can do that. So I'm going to go in here and you can see, okay, here's their last meeting was February 12th. I'll go look at this client. So we can import clients currently from Redtail, Wealthbox, and Salesforce, and we're planning to add more in over time as well as time permits. You can have a household. For example, you have Sam Adams. You can see Sam Adams here is the primary person in here, but you also have Patricia Smith and you have Joey in this household. And that's important because from an annual review perspective, you just need to have an annual review and document it with someone with the household, not necessarily with every single person. So when I mentioned files, and you can have document storage at a client level as well. So for example, here you can have required documents, and these are configurable. So what I'm going to do is show you something real quick. In the settings for the CCO, I can come in here and I can say these are the client required documents that are required, for example. And I can also do that at an account level as well. So if you want to make sure that your firm is in compliance and has these or any, you can change these around. They're all configurable. You can basically run reports and say what clients are missing files. And that's a nice easy way to do that, is to come in here and then you can say, if I wanted to, I could say, oh wait, this is file right here. That's not a risk tolerance. That's their contract. And I can submit that. And I'll show you a little bit more about this. If I open up reports, I open up in a new tab, and I can go to my clients and accounts. Then I can come down here and I've got this client required documents report. So then if I wanted to, I can then say, oh, here's our missing client required documents report. And I can filter by advisor or by specific document if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and run it. And this tells me, for example, that, okay, this person is here and how, has these two, they're missing these two, but they have the profile and financial plan, they have the contract and the other things. So it's a real easy way to go to tell you. This way I can go say, hey, Alexander Smart, you need to make sure and get there's documents on file for and how. So it's another way of providing super easy oversight from a compliance perspective, from a compliance team perspective. So another thing we talked about also here, you can download as a zip file again. We try to make things as easy as we can. Another thing I'll talk about is annual reviews. This is a really important part of the SmartRIA system, and something that a lot of people will use. We'll automatically pull in the client name, any accounts we have. You can pick your date of the client meeting. And then you can come through and you'll notice these things that are in here are things that are hot button issues. For example, clients' financial status, risk tolerance, investment objectives, or changes made, and where trades happen, investment or performance. And in the latest version of this form, I noticed this one doesn't have fees, but the latest version also has a section for fees. That is, that we've heard from a lot of our customers that fees are a really, really hot button issue with auditors. So then what you can do is, when I finish this, I can come in, I can put in my signature, and I can then sign it, submit it. And one good thing to know is we have a supporter role. So imagine you have advisors, or you are an advisor and you're really, really busy. You have supporters that can come in, and your supporter can come in and they can fill out a lot of these things for you, and then they can save it. And then you can come in and then review it and then sign it and submit it. So it can save a lot of time. So one of the things I should mention over here, so you can also have a history of your annual review forms. So I have one. So I have one now. It's in a status of submitted. The reason that is because it was submitted by an advisor and it's gone to the compliance team to be reviewed. And so it allows us kind of, the compliance team is the gatekeeper, and they can reject it and add comments and say, why it was rejected. And of course, in reports, you can easily pull them all up and say, yep, here are all of our annual review forms we've kept on file. So some other things I should talk about is that we have this trade monitoring module now with pre-clearance, and we have trade rules that are very flexible. This one is not going to have a whole lot of rules, but you can basically say you can get alerts for for dollar amounts, for certain symbols. Very flexible. You can create a new rule that says, for example, I want to be alerted. I'm going to basically say I'm not going to worry about any of these, but if I have an amount that is greater than, let's say, 10, I don't know, $100,000 trade, and I'm just going to leave the dates open, but they're all flexible. Then I want to be alerted. And you can also check client trades, and everything is checked for front running. We check for see if there's an advisor trade or a client trade on the same day. But it's that easy to create a rule. So now, if a trade comes in, or if a trade happens for greater than $100,000, the compliance team will get an alert. So it's really, really easy to do. So, then Amy's mentioned here, you can differentiate client meetings, from the annual client review and create detailed reports. Yep, really, really, really easy. So if we go look at that, I can also come along and I can go say, which advisors are falling behind, for example. And I can come along and I can say, like for annual review oversight report, I can run it. And it shows me what percent have had a meeting, how many households have not had a meeting, and by advisor. So then you can come along and I can go and I can say, this one, Robert Sullivan here, he's only had 40% of his clients have had annual reviews on file, which could get you in trouble. So another thing I should talk about with clients, and I apologize for jumping around a little bit. We're in a kind of a short meeting format here, but I'm going to go back to Adams. So one other thing I should mention is in here, for any alerts that show up for a client, will show up at the bottom, and you can easily see. And so here's one. We have this one that says no trades were found. So we have an alert that says if you have a data feed in SmartRIA, which is optional, but if you have a data feed, one of the things we can do is we can look and say, oh, there's whether a trade has not happened in the last year, which is another hot button issue that says if you're managing someone's money but you're not doing trades, then are you really doing your fiduciary duty? And then the advisor will then have to explain, what do they do about that? So we're going to go back to the dashboard, talk about a couple other things real quick. So another thing I mentioned was these quick access forms. These are things that aren't scheduled, but having them here makes them really easy to do. For example, if you have an advertising that you want to submit or a client complaint, unfortunately, we can't schedule those. And we also, most of the time, don't schedule our gifts, but it's super easy to get to. You can come along, and this is built in SmartRIA. And you can easily describe it, and you can submit it. And if you sign and submit it, it will go to the compliance team. And if they have questions about it, they can ask as well. And it makes it really easy to to document those things. But you'll notice these. If I go back to the dashboard, so this list of quick access forms, I'm going to go to compliance. I'm going to go to the master forms library here, and you'll notice we've got these few. And you can see these are the ones that are pinned, for example. So you can create your own forms with a create form here, and you can pin them into the dashboard. So if you have maybe some company form that you want people to fill out, they can go to it right there. So there's a quite extensive list of forms we have in the platform. And Amy says here, she says her favorite report is the alerts report, and how easy it is to communicate with your investment advisors. And in the audit trail in this alerts report, well, I think I'll go take a look at that one real quick. It's a good one to point out. We'll come down here, and if we look at this alerts report, I can then say who's doing what, and I can first search by employee. And we have literally had some firms that have said, you've got so many alerts that you're not taking care of that we're going to stop charging these clients fees until you start catching up on these alerts. So, and this of course you can see what's going on. Well, that one doesn't have a lot, but you can and then you can also send a reminder email as well. So I know that's a lot. If anyone would like a demo or questions or anything, please get in touch. We're just smart-ria.com, and want to see if there's any questions we have in the last few minutes. Or Amy, if there's anything I've missed. All right, then with that, if no questions, then now you feel free to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. You have the somebody gives us 3 minutes before the next session, so you can go wander around the hall, get a drink of water, and we'll see you in the next session. I think coming up we have Mac Bartine from our company with about a culture of compliance coming up, and Mac certainly knows a thing or two about culture and really cares about our employees. So thank you for attending. I really appreciate it. And Amy's just posted a link in the chat there. So, and do appreciate you being here. Thanks a bunch, and y'all have a great day.